Some people pressed record and captured things they were never meant to witness. Shadow figures, ominous presences, rituals that should have never been attempted. These moments weren't planned, but once filmed, they became some of the darkest videos ever caught by chance. An unexplainable video was filmed and shared on January 8th, 2024 by TikTok user at Stanley701 El Chapo in El Salvador that quickly drew attention online. According to the source, he and several of his friends were on their way to a music festival and were casually recording crowds moving toward the venue. A young man appears suddenly between two parked trucks, even though no one noticed him at the time. What made the moment especially chilling was how little space there was between the vehicles, far too narrow for a person to stand or pass through realistically, unless this was no actual man at all, and something appearing in the form of one. Terrifying entity. In this terrifying encounter, a man spotted a woman in the distance frantically digging at the ground in Ohio. Concerned for his safety, he began recording from a distance, keeping a close eye on her. As he tried to pass by his apartment just around the corner, the woman suddenly stopped and turned to stare directly at him. The unsettling screams he had heard moments before fell silent. Before he could react, she was suddenly right in front of him, though he never heard her approach. The footage abruptly ends there. His phone was later found by a resident who called 911. The man's fate and the identity of the mysterious woman remain unknown. Intruder, Black Mass. A lone woman who was sleeping in her apartment in Acapulco, Mexico, was suddenly awakened by something very terrifying that had not just gotten into her place, but also her bedroom. A thick black mass or smoke was visible just feet away from her that almost disappeared as she turned on the light to investigate. Grabbing a crucifix for spiritual protection, the woman slowly trailed the intruder to get a good look at it. By every second that passed, its signature only diminished more and more until it gradually disappeared completely.
Alors le choupi, il est tout en haut de l'étagère là-bas. Et il ne marche plus.
Unidentified being.
Mira. No mames, ve. ¿Ve eso?
This was no animal or a beast, but something far more scary and unpredictable. An unknown source shared this clip on February 7th, 2025, on Twitter, showing a mysterious dark figure that appeared from the dark and was circling around a man who was on the ground, being able to make only partial movements.
Ay, Dios mío de mi vida. No te pases de lanza.
The bystanders who came across it all were left just being able to record and protest, not able to step into the situation and possibly help that man. By most, this is classified as an actual, real demonic entity. Mysterious footprints. Security camera footage from a nursing home in Columbus, Ohio, captured a disturbing late-night incident. 4 employees were sent to the second floor to clean a room and clear cat litter that had spilled into the hallway during a visit. While working, they suddenly heard an unexplained, frightening noise followed by loud banging. Startled, the workers fled the area. Moments later, the camera showed footprints forming across the carpet, matching the color of the litter, as if an unseen presence had stepped through it. Staff later reported that strange noises had been heard on that floor for months, raising the possibility that the area was haunted. Over time, nightmare. This incident involved an employee working late hours when a series of unsettling events began to unfold. At first, he dismissed it as a coincidence when a small object fell nearby, but the situation quickly escalated. A monitor resting on top of a storage cabinet suddenly toppled to the floor without warning. As he stood up to check what had happened, a chair abruptly slid toward him on its own, as if reacting to his presence. That moment was enough to shatter any sense of rational explanation. Overcome with fear, the man panicked, abandoned the area, and ran out, convinced he was no longer alone. Terrifying home invasion. A lone man in a house started hearing a suspicious sound coming from downstairs, which, upon peeping down the hallway, he couldn't find anything or anyone to be there, until he suddenly discovered a shadow of something that was right next to him.
What the hell is that noise?
The clip at this point gets cut off abruptly, since things probably ended up dark here. The video that made it online shows that he made it out. Interrupted gamer. This teenage boy, who was busy with his gaming until he noticed that something abnormal from the hallway just outside the door was continuously peeping at him. Terrified of the encounter and seeing its potential to get worse, he immediately got up and shut the door. While it is possible that this could have been a prank on the boy, however, judging by the sparking of the light and how his mom came to be concerned and confused, proves that this indeed was some ghost, spirit, or supernatural entity that made a physical appearance. Bathroom ghost. While on the rounds in the dark, a security guard at an office noticed the silhouette of what he initially took to be some intruder or burglar. However, as he opened the door to investigate, found no one inside, which is when he realized that this was a ghost that caught him by surprise. Humanoid horror. On December 22nd, 2025, a man cycling home through the quiet village of Ban Phai, Thailand, experienced something that made him stop in his tracks. On the deserted road ahead, he noticed a strange human-like figure moving slowly in his direction. Feeling uneasy, he pulled out his phone and began recording. The figure appeared to be dressed in tattered, aged clothing, with long, unkempt hair hanging down its back. What disturbed him most were its hands, unnaturally long and twisted beyond anything human. When it finally turned to face him, its dark, empty eyes and stretched facial features sent a wave of fear through him. Realizing it was unsafe to approach, he quickly left the area. Dust Devil. In parts of Africa, folklore speaks of an ancient being believed to guard and protect the forest lands, often referred to as the Dust Devil. According to legend, this entity can control powerful winds and leave destruction wherever it passes. It is said to be an old spirit that can take the shape of animals, then sink into the ground and disappear at will. Recently, a group of tourists claim to have captured footage of what they believe may be this very creature, reigniting interest in the legend. Shapeshifter apparition. In El Paso, a family recorded what seemed like a perfectly ordinary birthday celebration on December 23rd, 2025. A grandmother sat at a red table as relatives gathered around her, smiling, singing, and filming the moment. Nothing unusual was noticed at the time. However, when the video was reviewed later, an unexpected detail stood out. A small, shadow-like figure appeared behind the grandmother, sprinting past at remarkable speed before vanishing. The movement was so fast and silent that no one in the room reacted. There were no visible disturbances, no sounds, and no sign of where the figure came from or where it went. Unknown bus passenger. A night route in Delhi, India, appeared routine until the bus reached its final stop. One by one, the passengers disembarked except for a single woman seated in silence, her body completely covered. When the driver and conductor asked her to get off, she did not move or respond. As they stepped closer, they noticed something horrifying. Her face had no features at all, no eyes, no mouth, nothing but a smooth, empty surface. Frozen in terror, both men fled the bus. By morning, the woman had vanished without a trace, as if she had never been there at all. Attempted ritual. Right in front of a CCTV camera of a residence in Krasny Sulin, Russia, an unknown individual appeared late at night and began preparing what looked like a disturbing ritual directed at the homeowner. The activity was discovered after repeated appearances of strange symbols and objects near the gate, prompting the resident to install cameras. The footage shows a cloaked figure arranging candles, drawing a large symbolic shape using a dark substance, and leaving ritual items behind, including tarot cards. Local reports noted the cards symbolized extreme misfortune and serious illness in occult beliefs. The figure vanished soon after, leaving the resident deeply unsettled. Moving dark shadow. 2 employees in Tel Aviv, Israel, were working overtime until they suddenly started hearing security alarms that were set off in a building just next to them. They noticed a moving dark shadow that was flying and repeatedly going in and out of the window, which they even managed to film in the process. The nature of this entity is not known, with possibilities ranging from a demon spirit, a supernatural entity, to Grim Reaper. The footage was later shared on a news channel as it started going viral. Ghost pool.
Take your breath away, right?
2 tourists relaxing at a waterfall pool while traveling through Brazil were preparing to leave when one of them, who was filming, captured a strand of hair that began to move on its own in a strange and unexplained way. This wasn't the doing of any wind or dripping effect of the pool water in the manner of how her hair moved. According to a rumor, that exact spot was a native burial ground area centuries ago, the spirit from where may have caused this.
Take your breath away, right?
Vanishing child. At a birthday gathering inside a house late at night in Mexico, a group of friends recorded themselves surprising one of their friends on her special day. While the celebration seemed normal at first, the footage later revealed something unsettling. For a brief moment, a small boy appeared standing just behind the birthday girl. Seconds later, he vanished completely, as if he had never been there. The person who shared the video claims it was recorded over 10 years ago and insists that no children were present at the gathering that night. If that's true, then what exactly did the camera capture, or where did it come from before disappearing suddenly? Phantom passerby. This couple in Boston, Massachusetts, was relaxing on their balcony when, around 10 p.m., a very strange figure walked past them, and they immediately took notice of it. Shocked and unsure of what they had just witnessed, they went inside and reviewed their security camera footage. What they saw only deepened the mystery. The figure was just as transparent as they remembered, wearing clothing reminiscent of the early 1920s, so see-through that passing cars could be seen through its body. The couple believes the presence wasn't human, raising unsettling questions about whether it could have been a so-called man in black, if not something of a ghost that dressed up. Terrorizing invisible force. Security footage from outside a bar in Florida shows a man stepping out for a cigarette while talking on the phone. Without warning, he is suddenly pulled backward by the leg, as if seized by something unseen, causing him to drop his belongings. When another patron rushes in to help, he appears to be struck by an invisible force and retreats in panic. Moments later, the first man is dragged briefly before being forcefully thrown back into the bar, leaving witnesses stunned and confused. Shadow weirdo. A couple walking through wooded paths near a beach in England suddenly encountered a strange, completely black humanoid figure that appeared without warning. Despite it being broad daylight, the figure had a pitch-black, textureless appearance that instantly terrified them. It stood out unnaturally against the surroundings, as if it didn't belong there at all. Was it a shapeshifter, a demonic presence, or some unknown supernatural entity taking on a human form? Unexplainable pull. On July 21st, 2024, a security camera at the entrance of a home in Colombia recorded a disturbing event around 7 p.m. As a resident approached the house, a fast-moving dark shadow suddenly rushed toward the doorway and pulled him hard, sending him tumbling down the steps. Hearing his reaction, a nearby couple and their dog ran to help and to investigate. The footage suggests the shadowy entity appeared briefly before vanishing, as if it was preventing the man from entering the home. Viewers later noticed the dog instinctively rushed to the exact spot where the entity appeared. Shadow visitor. This very spooky clip from a security camera, recorded late at night inside a hospital in Indonesia in 2022, shows a patient who is resting in a hospital bed when an unusual presence suddenly emerges nearby. A dark, human-like figure, completely black and partially transparent, appears to move slowly across the room. After lingering for a few moments, it calmly walks away and vanishes without a trace. When hospital staff later reviewed the recording, they were reportedly shaken and unable to offer any explanation for what they saw. Whether it was a shadow, a jinn, or something far more disturbing remains a questionable mystery. Demon appearance. After work, a comic collector was rearranging his room when his light started flickering, and the front door repeatedly opened on its own despite being locked. Eventually, he decided to start filming to catch whatever was causing it.
Did somebody open the door?
A day or two later, his pet dog, around the same time of the night, suddenly started barking profusely, which, as he investigated, started to witness things that started to move or fall on their own, just as any paranormal activity.
So this picture fell down, and I know what you're gonna say, oh, it was just the wind or whatever, but coincidentally, a bunch fell down in the other room too. Let me show you. Hold up.
As he moved through his home, his dog suddenly began barking again. Moments later, he glanced out the window and noticed a humanoid silhouette standing motionless just outside his front door.
Holy shit, there's somebody out there.
Within a split second, it managed to disappear, which, when every clue was connected, painted a clear picture that this couldn't have been a person. Haunted bathroom stall. A TikTok user at Axel_Loza_official recorded and uploaded this terrifying footage on June 4th, 2024. It was while he was inside a university bathroom and he started to hear a banging noise. After discovering all the toilets to be empty, started filming after feeling scared, but was still curious. However, the camera captured something terrifying that Axel hadn't noticed. A creepy, mysterious face appeared inside the toilet, but vanished in the blink of an eye. Axel was horrified when he watched the recording later and saw the face. Many believe that this bathroom is haunted. Abandoned house apparition.
Haunted, Panama City, Florida, my first book.
A woman who lived across from a long abandoned house, the site of a past tragedy and eerily silent ever since, noticed something unusual one day while walking nearby. What she saw instantly felt wrong, transforming an ordinary stroll into a deeply unsettling encounter.
You see what I'm seeing.
Was this the spirit of the child that once lived here, or was this someone who broke their way into the house? Is something of a mystery that shall remain unanswered here.
You see what I'm seeing.
Ghost passenger. This bus driver in Brazil was driving back to the station on empty roads and in complete silence until he suddenly noticed something deeply unsettling. As he was filming with his phone camera, he noticed a visible head of what looked like a person on board, which clearly was not the case, as he looked again to check from the inside mirror, which confirmed no one was on board. The head only appeared on the outside rearview mirrors, while the inside rear mirrors were empty, leaving him in utter confusion and fear. He then got up to investigate by walking at the back of the bus, just in case someone was playing tricks on him, until he was convinced this indeed was no coincidence. Troublesome ghost. As an elderly woman in the Philippines struggled with severe sleep problems, often falling into deep, unresponsive slumbers accompanied by sleep paralysis, her health began to suffer. Concerned, her granddaughter suspected something unusual was happening at night and installed cameras in her bedroom to monitor her sleep. The footage revealed a dark, mist-like presence gradually forming and hovering over her body as she lay still. When one granddaughter entered the room, the mist abruptly retreated, as if startled. According to the family, similar incidents may have occurred before, leaving the strange phenomenon unexplained and shrouded in mystery. Entity haunts man. 2 disturbing encounters reportedly happened to the same man in a remote village in Vietnam, only days apart. In the first incident, he was resting on a makeshift bed outdoors when he felt it shaking. Alarmed, he began recording, and as the camera angled beneath the bed, a horrifying red-faced figure with dark hair and unnerving, unnatural eyes appeared staring back at him. He fled into his house. Just 2 days later, he heard someone calling his name in his mother's voice, despite being alone. Investigating the sound, he looked into a guest bathroom and was met with another grotesque face, head tilted, eyes reflecting the camera flash. Terrified, he escaped and contacted the police, but no one was found inside. Witch's vanishing spell. A disturbing video that went viral in 2023 from San Juan left even skeptics unsettled. Reported by Tiempo de San Juan, the footage appears to show a lone woman performing strange, ritual-like movements late at night. She is seen holding a small cauldron-like object emitting intense sparks and flames, yet she shows no sign of pain. As thick smoke fills the area, she moves as if in a trance, blowing into the container. Moments later, both the woman and the fire vanish instantly. The security camera zooms out, scanning the street and the nearby alley, but she is nowhere to be seen. This clearly was no ordinary woman, but an actual witch. Outside entity. On 27th June 2023, a concerned homeowner in Phoenix, Arizona, spotted this unknown dark entity that had been standing outside his residence.
There's this person that's been standing out there, and it's like 2 in the morning, and they still haven't left. They're just staring at the house, just creepy and shit. I don't know what to do. Tried to call the police, but nobody.
According to him, he had been noticing it appear every other night for days in a row. It would disappear momentarily as he'd call for the police. It would remain motionless, standing in a single spot for hours, as well as making no sound. After noticing it for several days in a row, the lone homeowner got weary of the situation and decided to film it and share with the world in hopes of getting some answers. Summoned ritual demon. An Arab paranormal investigator who was exploring a long-abandoned apartment complex in Algeria, where he encountered more than he was expecting. On the very first floor, a room at the end of the hallway, he noticed multiple lighted candles in a formation that gave the vibe of this being some aftermath of a ritual with a weirdly behaving demon. Either this was the person who was taken over by it, or was actually making a physical presence in an attempt to intimidate the recorder in fear and leave the area. Horror of Appalachian. This unsettling clip was recorded by a British camper while traveling through the Appalachian Mountains. The footage is unsteady as she struggles to remain quiet, clearly shaken by what she's seeing. In the distance, a low crouching figure can be seen, its form tense and oddly proportioned. Pointed, cat-like ears rise from its head, and the creature remains completely still, as if aware it's being watched. The silence and lack of movement only heighten the tension, making the encounter feel deliberate rather than accidental. The fear in the camper's voice and movements makes the moment deeply disturbing and difficult to dismiss. Wandering spirit. Late one evening, a homeowner noticed an unusual detail while reviewing footage from his front yard camera. A dark, human-shaped silhouette could be seen gliding down the street with an unnatural smoothness. It approached the neighboring house and, without slowing, slipped straight through the closed front door. Soon after, the residents began reporting unsettling events, such as lights turning on and off, unexplained sounds, and shadows appearing where no one stood. The house, once calm, became tense and unsettling. Whatever had been captured on camera didn't simply pass by. It entered the home, and the disturbances suggested it never truly left. Camp Lurker. Around midnight, one of the campers in a group who wasn't able to sleep started heating soup when he noticed a figure lurking in the dark. The man who had spotted it decided not to react. Instead, he pulled out a camera and started recording, hoping to zoom in and get a better look without spooking it or escalating the matter. It is unclear if it was some normal person under desperate circumstances or some hillbilly just as to could it be more interested in the camper or his sizzling hot soup. Actual Grim Reaper. A speeding camera that was placed somewhere in the countryside of Scotland caught a very concerning figure that was on the back of a dump truck. Many of the viewers initially took it to be some road pirate with a mask, until the same truck was reported to be part of a devastating incident later on. Considering the coincidence of both events occurring hand in hand at the same time, it's clear that this indeed was a Grim Reaper that was caught on camera. The clip had to be partially censored, considering the social media guidelines. Another sighting of a Grim Reaper was made, this time in a hospital hours after the initial appearance. One of the patients, who was resting, decided to start filming randomly, where only through the lens of the camera, a very dark figure that he initially thought to be a woman appeared on the side of another patient. Later, the patient expired, and while reviewing the footage, he realized that this actually was a Grim Reaper, and not a woman. Hooved visitor. Late one night in Sana'a, Yemen, a shop owner was preparing to close when something deeply unsettling occurred. Quiet recitations of holy verses were playing inside the store when a woman dressed in black suddenly appeared and spoke to him, calmly claiming she was an angel. At first, nothing seemed out of place until he glanced downward. What he saw terrified him. Her feet were not human, but shaped like hooves. Fearing he was facing a djinn in disguise, the man believed the recitations may have kept it from coming any closer. The incident was reportedly captured on video, yet what truly stood before him remains a mystery. Shadow entity. After returning home from work, a man began sensing an unexplained presence in his house. So easy but cautious, he decided to investigate further while taking both legal and personal safety precautions. Through the lens of the camera, a dark figure could be seen moving, which he started following. He followed it down into his basement until it just vanished without a trace. With no paranormal activity, it was almost impossible to point out its presence until it was filmed on the camera. Furry creature. A video posted by a woman quickly gained attention online due to its unsettling appearance. The footage shows a dark, fur-covered figure standing in a dimly lit area, with shadows concealing most of its form. What is visible, however, appears unnatural and doesn't clearly resemble any familiar animal. Its facial features especially left viewers uneasy. As the clip spread, speculation flooded in. Some suggested it could be a chupacabra, while others admitted they couldn't identify it at all, leaving the sighting open to unsettling interpretation. Seated Grim Reaper. While a family was filming a get-together with a recording camera that picked up something very unexpected back in August 2007. As the woman was watching TV, beside her was a terrifying-looking figure that met the description very much to that of a Grim Reaper. This appearance was questioned and left many confused as to what its purpose could have been. Its purpose to be seated like that, as no one was reported to have passed away. Spooky Crawler. On the night of December 3rd, 2021, a street security camera in Surabaya, Indonesia, captured a disturbing sight. A black, humanoid entity appeared on the road, but instead of walking upright, it moved on all fours, crawling forward with its hands. Its unnatural movement and shadowy form showed that this was either something like a really old witch or a woman that is in desperate need of exorcism. The video has definitely reached its end. I will see you again with another wow video. Until then, you can check these other videos out for a wow dose of entertainment and knowledge.